Time bomb. I discovered my friend's affair with her supervisor. Now her marriage, career, and our 20-year friendship are destroyed in just 48 hours. I never thought I'd be the one to light the fuse that would blow up my best friend's entire life. But when faced with a moral dilemma that pitted loyalty against honesty, I made a choice that set off an explosion I never could have anticipated. The debris is still falling, and I'm still questioning if I did the right thing. Let me start from the beginning. Amanda and I have been best friends since we were awkward 12-year-olds with braces and questionable fashion choices. We survived middle school drama, high school heartbreaks, college roommate disasters, and the terrifying transition into actual adulthood. We were each other's maid of honor. We knew each other's deepest secrets, or at least I thought we did. For 20 years, Amanda has been my constant, the person who knows exactly when to bring ice cream and when to bring wine, the friend who helped me through my mother's cancer and celebrated with me when I got my dream job. When she married Brian 15 years ago, I stood beside her, tears of joy streaming down my face as she committed to the sweetest, most devoted man I'd ever met. I watched their relationship grow from high school sweethearts to a rock-solid marriage. Brian supported Amanda through night school while working 2 jobs. Amanda nursed Brian back to health after his car accident. They built a beautiful life together, had 2 amazing kids, and seemed like the couple who would grow old sitting in matching rocking chairs. Which is why what happened last Friday hit me like a wrecking ball. It was just after 7 p.m. when Amanda texted asking if she could come over. My husband was at his monthly poker game, so I was alone binge-watching cooking shows and told her to come right over. She arrived with an expensive bottle of champagne, which immediately raised my eyebrows. Amanda was notoriously frugal, a trait Brian loved about her. "What are we celebrating?" I asked as she practically bounced into my kitchen. "I got promoted," she squealed, pulling down 2 glasses from my cabinet. "Senior marketing director. Can you believe it? After just 10 months at the company?" I was genuinely thrilled for her. Amanda had worked retail jobs for years while raising her kids, and this marketing position was her first real career opportunity after getting her degree. The promotion seemed incredibly fast, but Amanda had always been smart and determined. "That's amazing. You must have really impressed them," I said, accepting the champagne flute she handed me. That's when she gave me a sly smile that made something cold settle in my stomach. "Well, I had a little help," she said, her voice dropping conspiratorially. I thought she meant a mentor or some professional development program. I was wrong. "I've been sleeping with Richard," she announced, taking a large swig of champagne. Richard, her direct supervisor, the man who had just promoted her. I nearly choked on my drink. "You're joking." "Nope," she said, popping the P sound. "For about 4 months now. He's taking me to Cabo next week, supposedly for a leadership retreat, but it's just going to be us at a 5-star resort." My mind was spinning, trying to process what she was saying. "But, Brian, your marriage, the kids?" Amanda waved her hand dismissively. "What Brian doesn't know won't hurt him. He's been so boring lately, Lisa. All he talks about is the kids' activities and house repairs. Richard takes me to fancy restaurants and talks about art and politics." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't my best friend speaking. The Amanda I knew would never cheat on Brian, the man she'd built a life with for 15 years. "Are you serious right now?" I managed to ask. "You're risking your entire marriage for, what, some excitement? A promotion?" "It's not just that," she insisted. "Richard and I have a connection. He understands the real me. And Brian doesn't, after 15 years together?" Amanda rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic. Lots of people have affairs, which brings me to why I'm here. I need your help." A knot formed in my stomach. Help with what? Brian thinks I'm going on a company retreat next week. I've told him cell reception will be spotty because of team building exercises. But if he can't reach me and gets worried, I need you to cover for me. Just tell him we've texted and everything's fine. I stared at her in disbelief. Not only was she having an affair with her boss and accepting a promotion that was clearly the result of that relationship, but she wanted me to actively help her deceive her husband, a man I considered a dear friend. Absolutely not, I said firmly. I won't lie to Brian for you. Amanda's expression hardened. Seriously? After everything we've been through? This is what you're going to judge me for? I'm not judging you, I lied. But I won't help you deceive Brian. That's a line I won't cross. God, you're such a prude, she snapped, standing up. I thought you'd be happy for me. I finally have excitement in my life, career advancement, and a week at a luxury resort. But I guess some people just can't stand seeing their friends succeed. This isn't success, Amanda, I said quietly. This is betrayal on multiple levels. She snatched up her purse. Whatever. I'll find someone else to help me. Someone who understands that life isn't all black and white. And with that, she stormed out, leaving me with a half-empty bottle of celebration champagne and a moral dilemma that would keep me up all night. The moment Amanda left my house, a countdown began. Though I didn't know it yet, we were all sitting on a time bomb that would detonate in less than 48 hours, obliterating everything in its path. I called my husband immediately. Patrick has always been my moral compass when I'm feeling lost, and I desperately needed guidance. She did what? Patrick exclaimed when I told him about Amanda's affair and promotion. And she asked you to cover for her? Yes, I confirmed. And she's going on a trip with this guy next week, a trip Brian thinks is a company retreat. Patrick was quiet for a moment. You realize Brian is my friend too, right? This puts us both in an impossible position. He was right. Over the 15 years of Amanda and Brian's marriage, our families had become intertwined. Our husbands played golf together. We spent holidays as a group. Brian wasn't just my best friend's husband. He was Patrick's good friend and part of our extended family. What do I do? I asked. If I tell Brian, I'm betraying Amanda's confidence and potentially ending their marriage. If I don't, I'm complicit in her deception. If the situation were reversed, Patrick said gently, wouldn't you want Brian to tell you? I didn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned, remembering Amanda and Brian's wedding vows, thinking about their children, and wondering how my best friend could throw it all away for a workplace fling and a promotion. By morning, I'd made a decision. I would talk to Amanda again, try to make her see reason. Perhaps if I appealed to her love for her family, she would come to her senses before the damage was irreparable. I called her repeatedly, but she didn't answer. I texted asking to meet, saying it was important, but she responded with a terse message. Too busy preparing for my trip. We can talk when I get back. The clock was ticking. Amanda's retreat was scheduled to begin in 5 days. If Brian was going to learn the truth, it needed to happen before she disappeared to Mexico with her lover. That's when Patrick reminded me of something I'd completely forgotten in my shock. Our home security camera. It had captured my entire conversation with Amanda. Her admission of the affair, her bragging about the promotion, her request that I help deceive her husband. We have proof, Patrick said quietly. Now we need to decide what to do with it. The decision was agonizing, but ultimately clear. Brian deserved to know the truth before his wife left the country with another man. He deserved the chance to make informed decisions about his marriage, his family, and his future. We invited Brian over for dinner the next evening, just 3 days before Amanda's planned departure. He arrived with a bottle of wine and his usual warm smile. Amanda's working late again, he explained. She's putting in so many hours preparing for this leadership retreat. I'm so proud of her dedication. His sincerity made what we were about to do even more painful. After dinner, Patrick poured Brian another glass of wine. "Brian, there's something we need to show you," he said gently. Brian looked concerned. "Is everything okay?" "It's about Amanda," I said, my heart pounding. "And it's going to be difficult to hear." We showed him the security footage. We watched his face as he heard his wife's voice confessing to her affair, bragging about her promotion, planning her getaway, and asking me to help deceive him. When the recording ended, Brian sat in stunned silence, tears streaming down his face. "Are you sure this isn't some kind of joke?" he finally asked, his voice hoarse. "I wish it was," I said, reaching for his hand. "I'm so sorry, Brian." He nodded slowly as if in a daze. "I need to go home and talk to her." "Do you want us to come with you?" Patrick offered. "No," Brian said, standing up shakily. "This is between me and my wife." As we watched him drive away, I felt physically ill. In the space of just 24 hours, I had gone from shocked recipient of my friend's infidelity confession to the person who had potentially ended her marriage. The bomb was no longer ticking. It had detonated, but I had no idea how wide the blast radius would be. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. 23 missed calls from Amanda, dozens of text messages, ranging from confusion to pleading to rage. I finally answered on her 24th call. "How could you?" she screamed without preamble. "You recorded me and showed it to Brian? What kind of friend does that?" "The kind who won't help you cheat on your husband," I replied, surprisingly calm despite my racing heart. "What happened, Amanda?" "Brian came home last night and confronted me with everything," she said, her voice breaking. "He knows about Richard, the promotion, the trip, everything. He said you showed him video evidence." "I did," I confirmed, "because he deserved to know the truth before you left on that trip." "It wasn't your place," she shouted. "This was my marriage, my life. It became my place when you came to my house, bragged about your affair, and tried to make me complicit in your deception," I pointed out. "What did you expect me to do? Lie to Brian's face for you?" "I expected loyalty from my best friend," she cried. 20 years of friendship, and you betrayed me like this?" "No, Amanda. You betrayed Brian, your vows, your family. You betrayed our friendship when you put me in this impossible position." "Well, congratulations," she said bitterly. "Brian's talking about divorce. He's called a lawyer. He took the kids to his parents' house. You've successfully ruined my family." "You did that all on your own," I said quietly, "when you decided to start sleeping with your boss." She hung up on me. I later learned from Brian that when he confronted Amanda, she'd initially tried to deny everything. When faced with the video evidence, she'd shifted to blaming him for her infidelity, claiming he'd been emotionally unavailable and that she'd been lonely. When that didn't work, she'd begged for forgiveness, promising to end the affair immediately. But the damage was done. Brian had already called Amanda's company's HR department that morning. By noon, the situation had escalated far beyond what I could have anticipated. Amanda's company took the ethics violation seriously, very seriously. Both she and Richard were placed on immediate administrative leave pending an investigation. The Cabo leadership retreat was canceled. Richard, facing the potential loss of his six-figure job and his professional reputation, quickly distanced himself from Amanda. According to what Brian learned from a colleague at the company, Richard claimed Amanda had pursued him aggressively and that he regretted the entire situation. Just like that, in less than 48 hours, Amanda's marriage was on the brink of divorce. Her lover had abandoned her, and her career was in jeopardy, and she blamed me for all of it. The fallout continued to spread like a toxic cloud. Amanda took to social media, painting herself as the victim of a vindictive friend. Without naming me directly, but making it obvious to anyone who knew us, She posted cryptic messages about so-called friends who record private conversations and people who throw stones while living in glass houses. Our mutual friends started taking sides. Some believed Amanda's vague claims that I had somehow wronged her. Others sensed there was more to the story and reached out to hear my side. I refused to engage in a public mudslinging match, simply telling those who asked directly that there were things they didn't know and that, out of respect for Brian and the children, I wouldn't be sharing details. Brian, to his immense credit, also took the high road. When asked, he simply said, "My wife had an inappropriate relationship with her supervisor that resulted in her recent promotion. I found out before she left on a trip with him. I'm focused on protecting our children right now." The truth has a way of emerging, though. Within days, word spread about Amanda's affair, her promotion, and her planned getaway. Most significantly, people learned that she had asked me to help cover for her, a detail that shifted many people's perspective on my decision to tell Brian. Amanda's parents, who had always treated me like a second daughter, called to say they were heartbroken but understood why I had shown Brian the footage. "We raised her better than this," her father said sadly. "Brian has been part of our family for 15 years. He didn't deserve such betrayal." The professional consequences came swiftly as well. Amanda's company completed its ethics investigation in record time, finding clear evidence that Richard had expedited Amanda's promotion shortly after their affair began, bypassing more qualified candidates. Both were terminated for violations of the company's ethics and fraternization policies. In just 1 week, Amanda had lost her marriage, her job, her lover, and many of her friends. The time bomb had detonated spectacularly, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. And our 20-year friendship? It lay in the rubble, seemingly beyond repair. 3 weeks after that fateful night, I was grocery shopping when I literally bumped carts with Amanda. I hadn't seen her since before the confrontation, and the change in her appearance was shocking. She had lost weight, her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and the dark circles under her eyes spoke of sleepless nights. We stared at each other for a long moment, frozen in the produce section. "How are you?" I finally asked, for lack of anything better to say. "How do you think?" she replied, but the venom I expected wasn't there. She just sounded tired. "I'm unemployed, about to be divorced, and my kids are confused and angry, so I'm just great. I'm sorry it all turned out this way," I said sincerely. "Are you?" she asked, studying my face. "Because from where I'm standing, you made this happen." I took a deep breath. "No, Amanda, you made choices. I just refused to help you hide those choices from the people they would hurt." She was quiet for a moment. "I've been seeing a therapist," she finally said. "She's helping me understand why I did what I did." "That's good," I replied cautiously. "I was reading these websites and forums," she continued, "where women talked about taking what's yours and using your advantages to get ahead. They made affairs sound empowering, like I was finally putting myself first after years of focusing on Brian and the kids." I remembered how Amanda had always been easily influenced by whatever she was reading or whoever she was spending time with. In college, she'd gone through a health food phase after reading a single book about nutrition. After the kids were born, she'd cycled through various extreme parenting philosophies based on whatever parenting group she was part of at the time. "These women online told me that using men to advance wasn't wrong. It was smart," she explained, "that I deserved more than being stuck in the same relationship since high school, that a girl boss knows how to leverage every opportunity." "That's not empowerment," I said. "That's manipulation." "I see that now," she admitted. "But at the time, it felt revolutionary, like I was finally taking control of my life." "By destroying your family?" I couldn't help asking. Her eyes filled with tears. "I wasn't thinking about it that way. I compartmentalized, Told myself what happened with Richard was separate from my family life. She shook her head. My therapist calls it magical thinking. I actually believed I could have this affair, accept the promotion, go on the trip, and come back to my normal life with no consequences. We stood there in awkward silence among the bell peppers and lettuce. Brian filed for divorce yesterday, she said finally. He's asking for joint custody. Are you fighting it? No, she said softly. He's being more than fair. I'm the one who broke our family. The least I can do is make the divorce as painless as possible. As we were about to part ways, Amanda reached out and touched my arm. For what it's worth, I understand why you showed Brian that footage. I'm not saying I forgive you yet. I'm still too angry. But I understand. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was something. It's been exactly 1 year since the 48 hours that changed everything. Brian and Amanda finalized their divorce 6 months ago. He's doing well, focusing on his relationship with his children, and recently started dating a kindergarten teacher who seems lovely. The kids split time between their parents and are adjusting as well as can be expected. Amanda found a job at a smaller marketing firm, starting at an entry-level position where she's working her way up legitimately. She continues her therapy and has made amends to many people she hurt. She's even started speaking to women's groups about the dangers of toxic online communities that promote manipulation and deception as forms of empowerment. As for our friendship, it will never be what it once was. The trust that took 20 years to build was shattered in 48 hours, and some breaks can't be fully repaired. But we've established a new, more distant relationship based on our shared history and the hard lessons we've both learned. We meet occasionally for coffee and can now talk about what happened without anger or defensiveness. Patrick and I remain close with Brian and have welcomed his new girlfriend into our circle. Our loyalty to him during his darkest days created a bond that will likely last a lifetime. Looking back, I don't regret showing Brian the footage, despite the explosion that followed. Some would say I betrayed my best friend's confidence, but I believe true loyalty isn't about blind support of someone's destructive choices. It's about caring enough to hold them accountable. The experience taught me that sometimes the hardest path is the right one. That truth, while painful in the moment, causes less damage than deception in the long run, and that our character is defined not by our mistakes, but by how we respond to them. Amanda betrayed her husband, her employer, her children, and our friendship. But in facing the consequences of her actions, she found a path to redemption. And in choosing honesty over misplaced loyalty, I discovered what true friendship actually means. Time bombs don't just destroy, they clear away what was broken to make room for something stronger to be built in its place.